here we go. All right. What I know, he's an active duty military. He's stationed over in the Middle East right now. All right. He had a pretty severe hamstring injury back in November of 2016. So I'm assuming he's about 8 weeks out. All right, give or take, that's kind of what I'm guessing here. What I know is that he has limited mobility, okay? So I've been told that he's extremely tight, huge difference from side to side, and he just doesn't have the mobility that he needs to have. Hurts really bad with running, so he isn't able to really do what he needs to do over there. If he can't run, he can't necessarily help his team as well as he could, and it also makes him an easier target for the enemy, so to speak. All right, and it also hurts when he does any kind of squat. They didn't specify if it was a hurt with a loaded squat or an unloaded squat, but it hurts when squatting. All right, so since he has access to equipment, mobility gear, things of that nature, he should be able to start to kind of tackle this on his own, just as long as he has some guidance. All right. So what we know, like I said, he's 8 weeks out, so he's out of the acute stage of injury. I don't know how bad it was, but I know that it was a pretty bad hamstring injury. So here's what he needs to do, or what he can start doing to get back into action. Okay? One, mobility. Okay, mobility. So lacrosse ball, a simple tack and floss while he's sitting on a bench or a box. Just trying to get the tissues moving a little bit better in that posterior leg. All right. Another one is an active door stretch. All right. Essentially an active mobility for the straight leg raise. Trying to get his tissues moving a little bit better and free up some more range of motion, which he needs to do his job. Another one would be inchworms. All right. Inchworms are a great way to get some active mobility in that forward flexion, and it's going to kind of put that entire posterior chain on stretch. Okay, have them start actively working towards a farther range of motion. Next, I put down here banded hip flexion moves. Now, it might be, or at this stage, it sounds like he's still having some pretty big issues. So I would caution the banded hip flexion moves to treat it very, very conservatively. You essentially want to push it until you feel, that stretch in the tissues, but you do not want to push it into pain. All right, you do not want to push it into pain for these mobility pieces. All right. Though we need mobility, but we also need to load the tissue. All right, we need to load the tissue appropriately. Okay, so now I do not know if it was a mid-substance tear of the muscle belly, or if it was more of a musculotendinous junction issue. I can assume that it was more at the insertion point of that hamstring. That's my guess. Like I said, it's just a guess. But either way, to help those tissues remodel how we need them to, I think slow eccentric tempos and some end range isometrics. Okay. I really like the tempo for this. So 3-3-1-1. So 3 seconds eccentric, 3 second isometric hold at end range, and 1 second concentric, and then 1 second between reps. All right. This is a pretty solid way to target the tissues how we want to target the tissues. All right. A few exercises here that I've listed for him that he could possibly start to do is single leg RDLs, essentially just forcing single leg stability and control through that hamstring muscle group, and also the glutes. Then we have the 90-90 hamstrings eccentrics. I'll show you guys that here in a second, but it's just a good way to put the to help load that tissue in a lengthened position eccentrically. All right. So, and then also at a later date, you want to think about progressing more towards plyometrics, because that's essentially what he has to do when he runs. Okay? So, if we look at the function of the hamstring in running, all right, which he's having trouble with. During the terminal swing phase of gait in the running stride, the hamstring's going to help slow down that leg and start to bring it back the other direction. Okay? So it plays a huge eccentric role for controlling the swing limb in gait. Okay? It's also going to play some role in helping the athlete pull through. All right? So what we've seen through the literature is that people who overuse their hamstrings for the pull phase of the gait tend to enter their hamstrings a little bit more. Okay, it's simply just loading the hamstrings more than they probably should during gait. So as he starts to get back to function, what he might want to start thinking about is throwing in some more glute specific exercises, targeting the glutes, and seeing if he can get a more glute dominant pull with his gait. This will help take some of the strain off of those hamstrings and help to limit the chance of a future hamstring injury. Alright, but first, let's focus on these areas that I've listed below. Getting the mobility back, but also starting to load the tissue and getting back into action. Alright, mobility piece. Simply sit down on a bench or a box. Quickly cross walk underneath the leg. Pressure down on it. Simply start working your hamstring. Straight, slowly tack down the tissue, and extend the neck. Work all the way up and down the tissue. So I'll start distally, so more towards the knee, all the way up to just below the butt, where the hamstrings insert that extension process. Straight out the leg, so it's flush. This is the leg you're trying to mobilize. The leg that's up is the leg you're trying to mobilize. Bring your other leg up. Slowly lower it down. And then come back up. Slowly lower down. And then come back up. Okay? Next, we have to load the tissue. So remember, slow eccentric tempos, end range isometrics. The first one I'm going to show is a single leg RDL. You can do this start with no weight, and just with a PVC pipe, so it would be more of like a good morning, single leg good morning. But then you can progress to holding kettlebells either in a goblet position or in a farmer's carry position, just slowly loading the tissues. Like I said, slow eccentric or tempo, so 3-3-1-1. Looking in the rep scheme of like 15 to 20. You want high reps. This is for control. You probably won't be able to load this extremely heavy. As you've shown it, it should be tough, but you should not have pain with this. Okay, maybe a little burn, but you don't want to piss off the tissue too bad. A little bit of soreness is okay, as that's just the tissue reacting to what you're doing. But it should not feel like someone's stabbing you in the back of the leg. Alright. So, and the one after that's 90-90 hamstrings. I'll show you both of those now. Alright, so the first one here is the single leg good morning or single leg RDL. I'm going to show you the PVC variation. To do it with a kettlebell, you can simply just hold it in a goblet on your chest and do the same motion. Alright guys, so that is the PVC pipe version, okay? The PVC should make contact with your head, your back, and your butt at all times. And your back leg should kick up at the same rate as your chest goes down, okay? You only want to take it down to where you start to lose position. If you find that you stop losing the motion from the hip and start just bending over at the back, you've gone too far. Alright. So, like I said, you do that with the goblet, squat, with the kettlebell, just by holding across the chest. Which would look something like this. Hold it here, down, and up. Alright. Same rules apply. Okay guys, same rules apply there. And remember, you want to use that 3-3-1-1 tempo. Okay? Next is the banded eccentric exercise with the small band. Alright? So, what you're going to do is small band, hook it around your foot, like so. Alright. You want a 90 degrees here, about 90 degrees here. Alright. Arms out to the side. We're going to slowly control your hamstring into extension. Alright. You want to hold it at that end range for about 3 seconds. Come back down. And repeat. Okay guys. Now as you progress through, you can start to add a little bit more plyometric based catch that hamstring. I'm not going to go over that now.